Gentlemen, welcome you back to this live stream special edition. Want to say thank you to those of you who checked in with us on the last one. We're back at it once again. We're going to do something a little bit different this time around. That's here tonight. I got on the line with me my homie Divine Thought. So please let's give him a round of applause. Yo, Divine, what's good, homie?
Yo, what's happening, man?
Not much, man. We here doing what we do, man. Definitely want to say big shout out to everybody. Be sure to check out past and present episodes of the NonStop Radio Show, which is available now on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/nonstop-radio-show. And you can also follow us on Twitter at NonStop Radio 212 or my personal Twitter page at the EMillio EgBar to stay up to date with the latest news and highlights from your favorite hip-hop show. So, for everybody out there that's watching right now, we already have a live chat here on Periscope TV. Once again, we're going to open the phone lines for anybody out there who wants to call in and speak on what we're talking about here tonight. And the line to do that is 929-434-0922. Definitely check in and let us know what's on your thoughts, man. So, once again, we got my man Divine Thought here kicking it with us on this live Periscope stream. So, yo, what's good, man?
Yo, what's happening? For those of you who follow me on Twitter, it's Divine Thought TM. Because we're going to be touching on some, music business stuff, some content stuff, And I just got done airing that podcast.
Yeah.
Where I touched on some stuff. So
for the people out there who may have missed it, what was the title of that particular podcast?
It's called The Music Business Purge and Reboot.
Okay.
The basic gist of it was, because everything that's going on in the world and, the virus and all of that, it kind of shut down a lot of things. And one was the music business for real. So, music business is going to take a while to reboot. It's going to take about 10, 15 years to really get back in shape, put it to you that way.
Yeah. Music business has definitely, I know we've had conversations before privately and off record about, the state of the music business. A lot of things that I've learned about it over the time, like, it's been because, of conversations we have had, and everything like that. So, I know the music business is not what a lot of people out there imagine. I know that a lot of things out there is, basically just to keep people in the dark about what's going on the real side of things. But, you were talking about the music business and the reboot that is going to need to take to get it back to, I don't know, I guess some kind of like new platform or whatever. So, elaborate on that for the people out there that may not have understood.
Well, basically, the music business was already falling apart before. And by the way, when I'm talking about the music business, a lot of people get it confused on what I'm talking about. Like, and I'm not meaning to sound any type of way when I say this, but when I'm talking about the music business, I'm talking about like the actual business, like commerce, labels, and like, behind the scenes with streaming services and, radio and like FM radio and just the way that the music business structure was, right? Because right now, everything is shut down as far as, not everything, but most venues are shut down when it comes to performances.
Right.
So like, how you used to be able to work your way up in the music business, doing shows here and there, working your way up through the smaller venues to be able to get the attention of, a label for distribution or a label for a deal, whatever you wanted, or even just a bigger audience for yourself and work up into those bigger venues and into bigger opportunities. All of that's gone. Even the bigger venues have a smaller capacity right now.
Yeah.
So that means less money. Even if you land a bigger venue, that means less money. But most likely, an independent artist isn't going to land a bigger venue because the major labels still have, somewhat of a functioning business going on. So they're going to land those venues for their artists. Mm-hmm. So it's an uphill battle right now for indie artists. Not to mention the major labels still own all of the streaming platforms. Yeah. I keep saying it. One day it's going to get through to people. I've been saying that since the beat goes in, man. What, I've been saying that 3-4 years now.
Yeah, it's been a minute. You've been talking about that on the beat goes in. You've been talking about that, you know, on this recent platform that you have now with For All Matters, and you've been tweeting about it since I've, you know, come across you on Twitter and everything like that. So, you know, you definitely been putting it out there for the masses and everybody to, you know and get interested enough to do the information and, you know, do the research and see for themselves. But at the same time, I don't know, I guess people just feels like it's just a mirage, so to say, you know?
Yeah, they think they're independent.
Yeah.
And when I say that there's no such thing as an independent artist, it hits a lot of people's egos. And I understand that. I've been in and around the music business for 20 years in different capacities. I understand what it's like to deal with people with egos and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's not to hit nobody's ego. That's not what I'm saying. I'm actually trying to affect change. I'm trying to get through to the independent artists. Like, look, they took physical copies away, and really that was by consent. Mm-hmm. Independent artists wanted to be able to say these words right here. My music is available on all platforms. Mm-hmm. Right? That was such an important sentence for them to have to say, because it was like, you know, it's just clout, like, you know, oh, I'm available on this and this and this and this. Well, when you do that, basically what you did was you signed a bad record deal. Mm-hmm. That's what it had, because you get fractions of pennies. You get fractions of pennies for your song. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, it wasn't like that when the game was more, you know, geared towards physical copies and the money that you would get from performances and everything else. Especially as an independent artist, you could really make a living as an artist, because it is a profession. I know a lot of people nowadays treat it like it's a hobby and everything like that, but the music business is a profession. That's why it's called business. So, you know, and I know that, again, I know that you know that just me saying that drives a lot of hate towards my way and everything like that, because people are like, no, all you got to do is make music and you're an artist. And I'm like, nope. You know what I'm saying? That's not what it means. You gotta, like, you know, just posting your shit on SoundCloud or Spotify and Apple and all of that shit. Like, I don't even care if you went through a third-party distributor like DistroKid and all of that. It doesn't matter if that's what you're doing. If you're not taking the rest of the business seriously pre-virus, mm-hmm. you know, I would hear so many excuses from people who never wanted to get up on stage and perform. Now they have an excuse. Mm-hmm. Right? They have an excuse to not get up on the stage. And I'm hearing that a lot because, you know, I still try to work with artists, but I'm hearing that a lot. Like, you know, I can't get up on stage and da-da-da. I'm like, yeah, not now. But these same people wouldn't have got up on stage, just a few months ago before the virus and everything shut down either. So right. A lot of that is like, if you're not willing to put everything into it the same way that you would have to do with any other job to be able to keep that job, mm-hmm. and then you're not an artist. Like, you know, if you never copywrote any of your music, if you never thought to yourself after you recorded a song, I have to do something to make this legal, right? I have to do something to make this official. If you never had that thought cross your mind and the first thing you did was go and post it on social media or something, that's more of being a hobbyist than it is being an artist. That means you wanted immediate gratification with likes as opposed to long-term stability in a profession. Right? So that's kind of how I look at shit. And that's the message that I try to convey when I'm saying that. I'm not trying to be mean towards anybody who just makes music for fun. You can make music for fun all day. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's to each their own. Right. But, like, you know, you have to understand what you're doing to the real artists nowadays. There's only streaming, right? Yeah. Like, physical copies got taken away. So you're clogging up the lane when it comes to having the real artists who are trying to make this a profession, especially now that there's no venues. Now everybody's really got to be in the same spot, right? And it's all online. It's all digital. And the people who have no aspirations of getting on stage and it's just about likes and all of that, you're clogging up the lane for very talented people who really want to make it a profession. And, you know, it's kind of the same idea with, like you can understand with, like, music platforms. There's a million people that are doing what you do, but really, are they though? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like
they're
you
doing
actually,
it, but at the same time, they're not doing it on the level that we're doing it. You know what I'm saying? You got a lot of people out there, you know, they doing it for, you know, your little grips and grins. They doing it because they see everybody else doing it. It's almost like how we have the saying that, you know, everybody and their mother nowadays is a rapper. You know what I'm saying? So like everybody and their mother nowadays has a platform, and their radio personalities and their content creators and everything, when most of them don't even know to have. They just get behind a microphone and they just, you know, think that's all there is to it. There's a lot more that goes into actually being on both sides of the equation as an artist and as a radio personality than what most people tend to understand. You know what I mean?
yeah, definitely. Definitely. I see a lot of people that just create what they call a independent music platform, and they say that they doing all of this shit for artists, and they say that they're doing, and their tagline is always they're doing way more than mainstream outlets are doing and
Like,
everything. And I'm
but,
like,
but
okay,
like, really though, are they?
right.
It's like, are they, like, you're not even doing more for, you know, artists on this particular level? So what is it that you're doing more so than FM and college radio and other terrestrial stations that are doing the same thing that you're doing on a digital level? Like, what doors
Right.
are you opening for artists? What opportunities are you creating for people that utilize your platform? Like, what are you doing that is different from what any other platform is doing?
That's always the question that I have for them. Because there for a while, when I was doing those meetings and everything, man, I was coming across people that, you know, a lot, man. Nowadays, everybody has their own internet radio station or platform or digital platform, whatever they call it.
Right.
And they was always hitting me with the, like, you know, can you talk to so-and-so and so-and-so to get played on the radio? And then in the same breath, they would talk about how their platform is so big and it's doing so much. And I'm like, well, then fuck you talking to me for, right?
Yeah.
Like, why are you come? Obviously, your platform ain't doing nothing. And that's why you're looking for other outlets for these artists and everything that you're trying to rip off,
Right.
just to be completely honest. So, like, you know, it's one of them situations where, and then I ask them, I'm like, do you make sure that the music that you play is, like, you know, copyright? Like, do you make sure that the artists own their own copyrights? And are you tracked as a network by broadcast data systems and media base?
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, does your platform report to Billboard? Because all of these mainstream platforms that you say you're so much better than and that you're doing way more for the artists, all those platforms report to Billboard. Mm-hmm. And I can understand what they mean, because the mainstream, like, you know, I know radio and broadcasting very well. You know, I got experience. So at the end of the day, I understand what they mean. Mainstream don't do a lot. Like, you know, they play the same 3 songs. It's all about politics and, like, you know, bullshit. And I get that to a high level. Trust me.
See,
if anybody gets it, I do. But at the end of the day, you know, what are they doing?
Right. I think when people say they do more for artists than what FM do, is probably pretty much along that perspective, where they think that they're doing something by actually playing their song. Because, like you said, like when you listen to a FM station, they only have like the same amount of songs in rotation. You know what I'm saying? Like, you basically can turn on the radio and you know at what time they're going to play what song. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
right.
Maybe that's what they mean when they say I do more for artists than what FM does. But in reality, they actually don't. You know what I'm saying? So, like,
but I could go to your Twitter page right now, and the banner is a picture of, like, the old days of BLS, right?
Yeah.
So see, you know the history of when FM radio really did do things for artists, and
Right.
when FM radio really was the outlet that you had to go to make it anywhere, really, because every time you get a spin on FM radio, especially if you were lucky enough to make it in a rotation without having to pay, like nowadays, yeah, it's all pay for play and shit, but back then it wasn't. When the DJs actually had some, I don't know, man. When they really cared about,
not only when they really cared, but when they actually really had pull or actually had an impact that could help, you know, artists. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, I listen to a lot of these DJs now, And you know, I'm speaking from my own experience, and I'm speaking also from the experience of growing up and knowing what FM radio was and how it was back in them days. Now I'm speaking on that because I never been inside of the music business as far as what I do right now, as far as, you know, my platform and everything. I haven't been in any real tangible position. So I'm only speaking based off of my opinion when I say this. But I know, like, you know, the difference now when you listen to a lot of these DJs that are on FM radio, you hear them all playing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe you hear another one that's playing a record that's different than this particular DJ over here on this network, or this DJ that's on this network is playing different music or on a different lineup from what you're hearing out on the West Coast. But basically, when it comes down to it, they all playing the same thing. So basically, like the DJ on the radio level doesn't have the same impact that they had once before, back when, you know, if you get a DJ to spin you on a radio show, like you on your way. You know what I'm saying? Like you're popping now. You know what I'm saying? Whereas now, where you know it and I know it, that these DJs are being told by program directors at these radio stations that this is what it is that they got to play. You know what I'm saying? And that's what led to the inspiration for me creating this platform, is because I didn't want to keep hearing that, for one, and then also me being an artist at the time, I felt as though like the playing field was uneven. So I was like, why not try to create a platform to help artists out there in a meaningful way, when and take it back to them days where, you know, radio was important for you as an artist with your career. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they see the DJs got their balls chopped off and they just don't want to admit it. Mm-hmm. The owners of the radio stations, I know this shit from real time experience. The owners of the radio stations, you know, across the country, I mean, from east, west, down, south, up north, it don't matter where or what radio station you pick, they all have promo companies that they deal with, and they all deal with talent agencies. Mm-hmm. Now, that always was the case, but it became the primary source of the way that radio stations gathered their income. Mm-hmm. It didn't used to be, right? So a DJ, like, let's just say, for instance, Funk Flex or somebody like that, like, you know, they used to be able to break artists. Mm-hmm. because they weren't told they couldn't, like by contract. When these DJs have to re-up their contracts, they sign on the dotted line that they won't play any old song. Mm-hmm. They have to play what they're contracted to play. And that's just basically, you know, whatever 3 songs that the promo companies and the talent agencies like William Morris Endeavor are paying the stations to play, especially when you're part of a conglomerate like Radio One, Urban One, or iHeartRadio. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's basically the downfall of radio, is when they started to primarily accept money from promo companies and talent agencies, because then there wasn't any room for independent artists. And they tried to disguise it by saying, you know, they got a homegrown, like, you know, section of their show where they would play some local artists or some indie artists, but it was never to the point of rotation, which means you would never get your track into the top 40 that way. And that's what drives the music business, is the top 40. Mm-hmm. That's what drives the music business. And I mean, that's Billboard. That's what drives the music business. It doesn't matter if everyone listening here is like, all the musicians that I like or all the artists I like aren't even in the top 40. I get it, man. It's trash music. Mm-hmm. But what drives the music business at the highest level is Billboard. It is the top 40. So, you know, if you like some underground artist that, let's say, is really rhyming right now, most likely they grew up listening to somebody like Rakim, mm-hmm. or like, you know, Tribe Called Quest or something. Well, guess what? Those people, or let's take it to leaders of the new school, Busta Rhymes, whoever, Wu-Tang, guess what? Those people all wanted to make it in the top. Their goal was to make it into the top 40. Right. And it happened for them in the organic way, because that was when radio was still real. Like, you know what I mean? And FM was able to drive. And what would happen is all it took is that one DJ to play the song, and then another DJ to catch wind of that, and then that DJ would play it on their station, and then it would just catch like wildfire and go across the country.
Yeah.
And you could organically really, like, pop off as an artist that way. It's not constructed that way at all anymore. It's all based on talent agencies.
So, well, one thing I can say, and this is from my own personal experience and being in this particular lane as far as being an online platform. One thing I can acknowledge is that, the dynamic has changed a lot, being that you got these streaming platforms now where, you got artists that got songs on damn near every platform that's available to them. But I've also seen that there is, like a network amongst a lot of us digital platforms that we actually still do share records. You know what I'm saying? Like, I realize that, it's not a very big field as much as people would like to believe, because like it's crazy how I come across certain artists and they know people that I'm already networked with as host to host or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And then we still have some of us that like to share, music that we get from particular artists, and next thing you know, this platform is playing it, then it gets along to this next platform and then they're playing it and then it starts spreading like that. I mean, it's not in the same dynamic as what you just explained, but I do still see it, that it still happens in a small space, but it's I mean, it's not like it should be. And I feel like, a lot of these streaming platforms kind of change that dynamic as well, is because you got so many people out there that are putting these things up here, and even though it's there, it's like it's not finding their way into the right hands. You know what I'm saying? Then you got the people out there that like to pay for plays. So it's like you can't really tell if their numbers is tangible unless you got that inside information. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I would say, like you were saying, how some of these indie music platforms are, playing some of the same artists and everything. What would be better is if that was still happening, and then the owners of the indie platforms got together to really affect change, and all at once emailed Nielsen, broadcast data systems, email them and force their hand to track your platform.
Right.
Because then what's happening is when that artist that you guys are sharing the track with, that artist will now, every time that song gets played, that spin will report to Billboard. And sometimes if you as a tastemaker with your platform likes the song, you're like, you drop that, like you have that drop where it's like, so nice, you got to play it twice.
Yeah.
Well, if you did that, that means there's 2 spins on that track. So that's a real good look. And you can really help propel artists that way, as opposed to what I'm seeing where it's like, that's a good look that the platforms are passing it around, but it's like, then it's only going to the listenership for those platforms, and not necessarily is it always a good, like as an artist, for when I was coming up as an artist, I wasn't really too concerned about who was listening to the radio when I got my spins. That really wasn't my concern. It was good if people heard my song and they would come to me and be like, yo, I heard you on the radio. That was a good look. But really what it was is that I now had something that I could put on my press kit as an artist. I had a spin, like I had a track spin that was official, that went towards like, something that I could build on, right? That you could go and get distribution with, and you can go make a real name for yourself with. And recently I just did a poll on my Twitter, like, you know what I mean? And between all my accounts, I got like over 200,000 people, like, interacting between all my accounts. And then I had some friends run a poll that's in the business, and it was just basically like, if you hear an independent art, like if you are on social and you see an independent artist link just pop up on your timeline, or if you see an independent platform post about a certain artist, do you click? And overwhelmingly across the board, it was maybe and no. It was like sometimes and no. Yes was low. Like yes was real low. And the reason is because people are so programmed to believe the media, like the big media narrative that only, these big media conglomerates, iHeart and all of these other, like, you know what I'm saying? If they sign into Spotify and it's the front page song right there in front of them, like, you know what I mean? If it's the promoted song right there in front of them, or if everybody else is talking about the song, most people are programmed to consume their music in that fashion.